Okay, hey, Linda Kenny Bodden. Down here at 100 Center Street, spelled C-N-T-R-E, because we're very British originally. And so I've been looking in on the Harvey Weinstein jury selection process for his retrial, which they now think is going to begin next week, maybe Monday or Tuesday. Does any of this sound familiar? They're in the middle of selecting jurors, but technically they have 0 at the moment. So let me give you some scene-setting info to contrast this with what we've been going through with the Karen Reed case. Big courtroom, about, based on my calculations, and this is not smushing people together on the pews, I'd say 120 people could easily fit in this courtroom. And you've got 16 in the box right now as part of the veneer, and you have a few others, potential jurors scattered around in the gallery itself. And what they've been doing is taking each of these folks, one at a time, back into the inner sanctum. There's the doors in these courthouses, the interior part of the courtroom. It looks like paneling. It looks like, the hidden door. So they've taken these folks in and out, and they're going in there with the attorneys, with the judge, and in the case of Harvey Weinstein, with jury consultant Joanne, I always get her last name wrong, Demetrius? Anyway, one of the preeminent jury consultants in the land, obviously did OJ, was not involved in the first Harvey Weinstein trial, but is now front and center in part 2. So I had a chance to talk to our buddy Imran Ansari, who is on the defense team, to get a sense of where we are and what's happening. And although they haven't officially put anybody in the box, I proposed this possibility. Every judge is different in how they do this. It seems to me this judge operates by a function of exclusion. I've seen him exclude at least 3 people, and then they put new ones in the box. It seems to me that once you've had individual voir dire, and they don't excuse you, then there's a pretty good chance you're ultimately going to be on that panel. You will just not officially be impaneled. So that's a possibility. That's why they expect to have a jury in 2 days and have openings next Monday or Tuesday. There may be a day of wiggle room in there. But certainly a very different process than what we've seen happening up in Dedham, where the jury was impaneled very specifically one by one, and we knew day to day where they were with the process. So today, in the Harvey Weinstein retrial, officially no jurors, but I think they're making some progress following the process I think they're going to do. So let me give you a sense of, I know LKB always very interested in the racial makeup of prospective jurors here. Of the roughly 35 folks that are in the courtroom at the moment, there are about, let me see, I actually wrote these down because I knew you would be very interested in this. There were 3 African Americans, and this is again takes into account the 16 in the box plus the roughly equal number or more sitting scattered about in the gallery. There were 8 what I'll call non-white, and then the balance were very white. Men to women, almost a 50-50 mix at this point. What the jury consultant's looking for, very interesting. We don't know, but she definitely has a method that has worked in the past. One of the things we talked about a couple of days ago with both Imran Ansari and Arthur Aidala, 2 of the attorneys on the team for Harvey Weinstein, was this attempt to get Mr. Weinstein moved to Bellevue during the course of the trial. He is now in Rikers, not really where you go to rehab. He has cancer. He has diabetes. He's got some issues. And so this is not an unusual administrative request to have the defendant housed in Bellevue, which is not too far from here, as opposed to Rikers, which is a process getting in and out of every day. That accommodation, while not officially rejected, it's an administrative request. It was not rejected, but it's been sat on for a time. And so it's kind of like a pocket veto, They're doing nothing. So what has just been filed, and we can post this document later in the day, is an OSC, order to show cause, why they have not allowed this administrative relief to move Harvey Weinstein up to Bellevue, the hospital near here, versus maintaining him in Rikers. So both for the medical reasons and for the convenience of getting a defendant to and from court with those medical conditions as an overlay. So we'll see. That's going to have to be argued and heard, and it's probably not going to happen before this trial gets underway. So we'll see how that goes. Harvey himself, looks like you've probably seen him most recently, head shaved. I was surprised he's sitting there at the defense table quite often by himself, because remember, the attorneys are back in judges' chambers with the prospective jurors. And I know the Linda Kenny Bodden rule is never leave your defendant alone at the table, and they are in fact doing that quite a bit. And so these prospective jurors who are looking right at him, his table here, the jury just off to his left, they got nothing to do. They're just twiddling their thumbs and, checking him out. I heard that yesterday one of the jurors was actually very surprised. I couldn't tell if it was in a good way or bad way that Harvey Weinstein was the defendant and that this was that case, right? So they're checking him out. There's not much else going on in the courtroom to check out, and so there he is, kind of sitting for the most part by himself. They're going to continue the process. They went late yesterday. They went to almost, I think it was 5:15, but they're trying to get out of here at 4:30 each day. I'm guessing that as this week ends, and depending on how the progress is going with getting the jurors they need, that time may flux. But for now, they're giving the jurors the heads up that you're going to be here pretty much all day. They have a lunch break that is just about to begin, and then they'll go back at it. So that's about it from here. I think it's going to be very interesting in this round two for a number of reasons. And defense counsel for Mr. Weinstein talked about it at Justice Serve TV exclusively just a couple of days ago. There's a third new claimant, and all I can tell you about that person is it's not a famous name. It's not like Miss Shiora, Annabella, the actress. Not an actress, not a name, not a face you'd recognize immediately. Obviously, we're going to get to know this person a lot better. But this is a claimant that apparently has some history with the defendant in the entertainment world. I know these are all vague references, but they really can't reveal much more than that now. It will become apparent soon enough. That, combined with the original two defendants, complainants, means a much tighter case. Yes, they're adding one, but remember, they're losing about 5 that were testifying in trial number 1 and ultimately led to the reversal and new trial because the court at the appellate level said, look, you can't have all these bad character witnesses from remote meetings and very different circumstances with Harvey Weinstein. So that's what the fair trial thing is all about. Crazy idea, I understand that. And certainly not a popular thing for those who hate Harvey Weinstein, and there's still plenty of those. So the difference in the number of claimants, the difference in the number of witnesses, and the fact that we're 5 years post, the crazy, rabid Me Too movement. Not that it's a bad thing, it's just that the tone is different now. And I think these attorneys are aware of that, and as they continue to pick a jury, that's certainly going to be weighing on their minds. Who's still clinging to that really intense feeling about Me Too? Because there are people that are still very intense about it, and perhaps they have reason to be, and perhaps they don't want them on the jury for the defense. Anyway, so that's going to do it from here. I'm going to pack it up, and I will head back to the home office. We'll see you a little bit later on tonight as we go back again live. We'll see you then.